Hello, and thanks for watching another episode of ARFCOM News, your twice-weekly dose of the finest 2A propaganda. First up today is this baffling case out of New York City.
New York City!
It seems 3 people managed to get themselves shot in a gun-free zone. At first, I figured the only possible way this could happen is if all 3 of them lined up and happened to be struck by a bullet fired from outside the gun-free zone. But my extensive research uncovered a surprising technique anyone can use to bring a gun into a defenseless victim zone. It's so simple that once I tell you about it, even you can do it.
The secret ingredient is crime.
So it turns out you can actually just ignore the signs and nothing happens. You will be breaking the law, of course, but let's be honest, you were probably breaking the law already. I don't mean to condone lawless behavior, of course. I just mean it's pretty hard not to break any laws. Are you absolutely certain you don't have any expired medications at home? In all seriousness, that's the problem with these ridiculous defenseless victim zones. Signs don't actually do anything. I can't trust the bad guys to disarm. Even otherwise law-abiding people sometimes disregard useless signs. And I'm not saying there could never be a legitimate reason for a gun-free zone either. I'm willing to entertain the idea that maybe we should keep guns out of courtrooms or jails, for example. But it isn't enough to just wave your magic wand and declare an area to be free of guns. You need to set up entry control and make a good faith effort to screen entrance. I believe that anyone who wishes to establish a so-called gun-free zone needs to make a reasonable attempt to enforce the policy, and they become partly responsible for my safety when they disarm me. But it would be impossible for us to produce quality 2A propaganda without sponsors, so let's pay some bills. Today's video is sponsored by TNVC.com, your source for good old-fashioned all-American night vision, just like Mom used to make.
Do you like seeing the boogeyman hanging out with cryptids rolling dice in your front yard? I know I do. If you want to see all the crazy things happening right outside your house, check out TNVC.com.
And by Gunstock, a 2-day festival of peace and guns in Waxahachie, Texas. Come hang out with me and shoot some guns September 23rd and 24th. We'll have some food, music, 40 shooting bays, and the TNVC experience where you can get your hands on some of their latest night vision devices.
That punk pulled a Glock 7 on me. You know what that is? It's a porcelain gun made in Germany. Doesn't show up on your airport x-ray machines here, and it costs more than you make in a month.
You'd be surprised what I make in a month.
That classic piece of total fiction could rightly be blamed for the pointless Undetectable Firearms Act, which was passed in 1988, but requires reauthorization every few years. You guessed it, it's up for renewal, and this time the control freaks are trying to glom onto the National Defense Authorization Act, which politicriters consider their patriotic duty to pass. If an amendment gets added, it's got pretty heckin' near a free ride because no one ever expects the NDAA not to pass. If the Glock 7 amendment gets added, it will be made permanent and would require every gun have at least 3.7 ounces of steel, regardless of the use of other metals, more high-tech metals. The real problem, though, is it allows the ATF to construct a security exemplar according to their own discretion, and any gun which isn't as detectable as their example would be illegal. Same thing goes for major components. There is literally nothing stopping them from claiming a 9-pound L-shaped chunk of steel is the exemplar, and there's nothing stopping them from using a vintage magnetic metal detector instead of a modern millimeter wave or backscatter imager. Modern screening technology can easily locate tiny non-metal objects. Legal or not, even guns made entirely out of plastic still couldn't pass through modern checkpoints. Yet the ATF could ban all subcompact pistols simply by setting ridiculous standards for the security exemplar. They have already demonstrated what they do with a little discretion. We simply cannot allow them any more leash. But that's not the only control freak nonsense trying to latch onto the coattails of the NDAA. Senator Chris Murphy is trying to tack on an amendment which would require all service members to register all guns they own with their base commander. Now, of course, base commanders have always had authority to dictate what happens with privately owned firearms on their post. It is typical to require service members who live in barracks to store their guns with MPs, but married service members in base housing are usually allowed to keep guns at home. Again, it is the commander's discretion, but these policies only apply to guns kept on post. This new amendment would even apply to service members who live off post. Technically, it would apply to every gun they own, even if it is stored in another state with family members. It also runs afoul of the Heller decision, which found the government has no authority to dictate how guns are stored in the home. To stop these amendments and any other unrelated infringements, call 202-224-3121. Well, here we go again. The state of Oklahoma is refusing to issue a concealed carry permit to anyone who holds a medical marijuana card. As you know, jazz cabbage is still more illegal at the federal level than cocaine and meth. So, anyone using it, even to treat legitimate medical conditions under the supervision of a physician, is a prohibited possessor. Of course, the uncomfortable truth is that almost everyone who fills out a 4473 is lying on question 21E, not just potheads. If you are addicted to any stimulant or depressant, including alcohol or caffeine, you must answer yes. Remember, if you ever have more than 4 drinks, you're considered an alcoholic. That means if you are on prescribed medications for chronic pain, you too must answer yes. It's not possible to take medication for chronic pain and not have a dependency. So while the devil's lettuce may get a lot of attention, let's remember practically everyone is lying on the 21E. Got a gun that my granddad gave me. They say one day they're gonna round up. Well, that may fly in the city. Good luck. Something like that. That's from a Jason Aldean song released months ago, but apparently the control freaks are just discovering it and they are all loving it. It's a pretty typical country pop song, but I got a feeling it's going to make Aldean much, much richer. Because I hadn't heard it until a few days ago, and I'm sure a lot of other folks didn't hear about it until the Antis decided to engage the Streisand effect drive one more time.
Ludicrous speed! Go!
Bless their hearts. The more they seethe, the more people hear a song they might like. So, good luck, Mr. Aldean. You're not my favorite singer, but you are triggering people who want me dead, and that makes me grin. And now, for your moment of zen. Hey friends, do you like pews and other pew-related things? Would you like to help us keep delivering you pure, uncut American pew propaganda at the low, low price of free? We literally couldn't pay the bills without our sponsors, so do us a solid and get yourself something nice from tnvc.com. You deserve it. I love you. America, 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 yeah, coming again to see day, yeah.